How did you get the visa and when? How many days of quarantine? So expenses for the quarantine. So do you think the border will open soon for other countries? So this is probably the questions that I was asked the most. How are you able to return to China? Currently, China is banning entries for many countries at the moment, of course, because of COVID. And because there are so many Korean workers and students that are wanting to come back to China, I know that the Korean ambassador has continuously talked to the Foreign Ministry of China about the visa situation. And finally, the Foreign Ministry of China has agreed to give valid visas for Korean students and Korean workers from last year, so 2020. So from then on, Korean students were able to apply for the Student X visa and they were able to return from then on. How did you get the visa and when? So when the Chinese embassy in Korea announced the Korean students were able to come back to China with the valid visa, I decided to come back to China this semester. So when my finals were done in January, I applied for my Student X visa in Korea. And when I applied, it took around 10 business working days to get my visa issued. And once I got my visa, I booked my flight ticket back to China and I returned on the 29th of January 2020. How many days of quarantine? So regulations on quarantine measures for overseas arrivals is changing every now and then. And as of today, so it's the 23rd of February 2021, you have to go through 21 days of centralized quarantine isolation. Yes, I know it's crazy. And then plus the 7 days of health monitoring system. So basically for the first 21 days, once you arrive to China, you will get designated to a hotel at the airport, whichever airport you arrive into, and then you have to go through 21 days of quarantine just at that hotel. You're not allowed to go anywhere else. They'll just put you in the hotel. You're not allowed to even leave the room. And after the 21 days, you will have to move to another place where you can do your health monitoring in. And it can either be your dormitory, it can either be a house that you already have in China, or you can book your own hotel. It's all up to you, but different measures will be taken for your health monitoring depending on where you are staying at. And for my situation, I am doing my health monitoring in my school dormitory. Basically for me, I have to go through 28 days of quarantine. So where am I quarantining at? So once you arrive to China, the airport will designate you to a hotel that you have to do your quarantine in for either 14 days or 21 days. Right now it's 21 days. A month ago it was 14 days, so I don't know how it will be in the future. And you have to stay at the hotel. You're not allowed to go anywhere else. And it's all random. Some hotels are really nice, I heard, and I personally was designated at a hotel that wasn't quite pleasant, but seriously, it's all up to your luck on which hotel you're placed at. And after 21 days of quarantine at the hotel that you're placed at, and then you're allowed to move to your place where you have to do your health monitoring system at, which for me was my school dormitory. And here I am having 4 or 5 days left of health monitoring. So expenses for the quarantine. This is probably the question that I was asked the most. So it really depends on which city that you land in. So if you land in Qingdao or Nanjing or Shanghai, I heard that is not as expensive as it is in Beijing. Some students paid around 5,000 Chinese yuan and up to 6,000 or 7,000. But in Beijing, I had to pay around 7,000. So I think the cheapest hotel you could get in China for the quarantine, which is all random, you cannot choose your own hotel, possibly 6,000, and it could get up to 8,000 Chinese renminbi. And the first 14 days of quarantine is self-funded, and 7 days of centralized quarantine is paid by the Chinese government. So for me, I had to only pay for the 14 days of quarantine. The accommodation was 420 Chinese yuan renminbi per day. So 14 days, it was 5,880 Chinese yuan in total. And for the food, I had to pay 100 renminbi per day, and for 14 days, it was 1,400 yuan. And also, I had to pay 360 yuan for the 3 times of coronavirus nasal swab test that I had to do. When you add all of this up, I think it was 7,600 or so. It's along that line. And I heard that for other hotels in Beijing, it's almost up to 6,000 to 8,000 maximum. Oh, and just one more thing about the quarantine fees. I couldn't use my Visa or Master or American Express card to pay for my quarantine. Only thing I could use was the UnionPay card that I had. and also you can pay through WeChat and Alipay. So if you want to go to China and pay for your quarantine fees, I suggest you have your money in your Alipay or WeChat. Is there free Wi-Fi at the hotel? Yes, there was free Wi-Fi at the hotel. You don't need to worry about that. So a lot of you guys also have asked me how the hotel services are like, whether or not if there's a fridge in the hotel. As I said before, it really depends on which hotel you designated at. I was probably designated at the worst hotel that I could possibly get in Beijing. There was no such thing as hotel room services, or there was no fridge, but I know a lot of other students stayed at a better hotel, so it really depends on your luck. Okay, it's all random. It really depends on how much luck you have. So do you think the border will open soon for other countries? Honestly, I am not sure at the current situation. Chinese embassies in relevant countries will publish timely notices in accordance with the current COVID-19 situation. So the only thing I can suggest you guys is just wait patiently. I know it's hard for all the online classes. You guys are wanting to come back to China so bad. I was also feeling like that last year. I never could have imagined myself being back even this year. But then they just started giving valid visas for Korean students last September. Yes, that's all for today. I tried to answer as many questions that I was asked through my Instagram account as best as possible. I hope that was a good reference for you guys in preparation for the future situation where all international students are able to return. So if this video helped you guys in any ways, please like this video and subscribe my channel for more information about China and to know more about my life in China.
Please